Okay, so I'm going to fix the fuel leak on this saw. You can see the cap is actually cracked at the top there. So of course that's not going to allow the O-ring to sit the best. So you can see, yeah, it's leaking from here, but also it's leaking from the fuel line, or it could even be the fuel tank. You can kind of see right there, it's you know, quite a bit down. So anyway, I went to the store here and paid a small fortune. Nope, that's the invoice for this stuff, chainsaw fuel. But I paid $5.34 for a fuel line for it. Now, this fuel line is meant to be a bit thicker than the standard chainsaw fuel line that I have here. I got two different sizes, the little tiny size, the bigger size. But anyway, that's not what the video is about here. So basically, to change this, you actually got to fish it through the tank, from the gas tank to the top, and then to the carburetor. So the reason why they crack is because it's flexing all the time. So not sure if that's even going to show up the best in there, but right in there's the fuel line, the little black line there. Yeah, it went out of focus. So I'm sure of it, that's where it's leaking. Sure, it could actually be leaking from the carburetor itself, but this fuel line is going to need to be changed anyway, so I've got to start somewhere, so I'm going to start with that. I know that's a common issue on most saws, is the fuel line itself, but for some reason it just seems like it's leaking. It might actually be where the whole saw itself is joined together, so I might end up having to pull the crankcase apart. Not too sure yet, so I'll pop off the top cover and I'll show you how to change it. I actually did one before, so I'm not an expert at this, but I did one other saw, same style, Husqvarna. I think it was a 455 instead of a model 55, so I'm, by the looks of it, they're the exact same. So give me a few seconds here, I'll prop up my camera and show you how to do it. Okay, so I don't know how good this is going to work. I'm trying to film this. So first thing, I'm going to start by removing the top cover, which on this side it actually is screwed on, where some of the newer ones just have the clips. And I priced out a bar and chain because, as you can see, I don't have a bar and chain, and the one that came with it doesn't match. Cheap generic one is about 50 bucks, let's say. Brand name about 100 bucks, so it's not too bad. So you can see there's quite a bit of, you know, crap stuck up in there. So I'll try to rearrange the camera here, or move the camera so you can see it maybe better. Yeah, that looks pretty good here, so just give me a second. Take off the air filter. Just one screw. Good time to clean it or change it. Depends how much you use your saw. This one here has some green stuff growing inside it. I gave it a quick rinse, but I can see it's starting to get dry, and I'm going to try giving it a shot of oil. I'll probably end up just changing it. So I am actually going to pull off this front cover on the carburetor here, and the screw here I already found out the hard, or not here, I found out the hard way, already falls off pretty easy. So that looks like T20, maybe 25, so give me a few seconds here to grab some Torx, or actually those are Allen keys. Okay, so I'm just using a Torx bit and an Allen key. I'm too lazy to find my Allen key set. So of course everything's going to fall apart here in a few seconds, which I'm expecting. One thing you might want to do before you even start doing this is drain the gas out of it. Fuel line just disconnects there. I never drained any gas out yet, so I'm going to do that in a second. Unhook my choke here. And that carburetor wasn't sealing the best by the looks there, so I'm also going to give it a little bit of a wash inside there. I'm not sure how good that's going to show up on the camera. It's pretty dirty. So anyway, give me a second here. I'm just going to disconnect the fuel line on here, but I'm going to go dump the gas out of the saw, because yes, I left gas in it. So sweet. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this the best here, but the fuel line is actually rotten up at the top here. So normally they rot in between there, but this one here is rotten right here. Not sure how good that's going to show up on the camera, but you see I'm flexing it there and it is destroyed. So I'm not sure how good that's going to show up, but yeah, it's just in the one spot. I never drained out the gas yet. I'm going to pull off this cover here too. No need to pull that off, but I'm just going to do it because, you know, I like to look and see how things are put together. So see how the supercharger, chainsaw supercharger is set up. I know it just works off the flywheel to force air into your intake box. So it's not quite a supercharger because, you know, it's not high pressure or anything, but, you know, I'm just going to pull it off for the hell of it. I want to inspect the rubber boot in between this and the carburetor. So I want to just inspect it to make sure it's not leaning out there. I'm sure this is what was causing the lean condition. So of course, you know, leaking fuel means you're not going to get the full fuel into the carburetor. So, okay. Oh, might as well throw this. If anyone's wondering about this, I'm 95% sure of it. That's your summer to winter mode. So I know a lot of saws, they have a rubber plug, but I guess that's how you set it for winter and summer mode. So, oop, gasket fell off. It looks to be in good shape. Normally I change them anyway, but in this case, this saw I'm probably not going to. A little bit stiff this here, but it is off on that side. I just gotta figure out how to get off the turbocharger inlet. Oh, it's just a rubber plug here that pulls off. Or maybe the whole thing comes out. Oh no, it came off. It might be a bitch to put back on, I'm not too sure. Rubber plug for the inlet. There we go. You can see how dirty that is on the back. So, fuel pump. And see, that's a little rubber intake boot, which is in good shape. I am still going to clean it up. Double check. I'm giving it a little bit of a flex, looking for some hairline cracks. Looks to be in decent shape. And for anyone that cares, I decided to throw this into the video here. The recoil, might as well pull it off. Again, if you have a problem with a fuel line leaking, it's probably a good idea to check over your entire saw. Compression test, check to make sure your decompression lever is not leaking. There's a few different ways you can do that. I always just use soap and water. I don't really know exactly what the proper way to do it is, I guess, but make sure you don't have too much of anything leaking. There's 4 screws hold on this recoil. That one is actually very loose. As you can see, I'm missing my sticker on the recoil cover, but this is model 55, which has a 53.5 cc engine. This will give you all your wiring. Check your rope, make sure it's in good shape. Always check around here. I'm going to bring it right to the very end. Looks to be in very good shape. Doesn't want to retract the best there. So I will give that a quick cleaning. Oops. I know it's probably off the camera with some of that. Always make sure, of course, your center screws nice and tight. But you can see this is from the fuel leaking on the saw. This is nothing. This is after I already cleaned it with it on the saw. I hosed it off with the pressure washer, sprayed some cleaner in it. You can see one of my other videos about that. But yeah, that's a good reason to pull your saw apart at least once a year. You can see here how the stator assembly, magneto assembly is just covered in grease here. Don't know how good that's going to show up with the zoom, but try to get a good shot of everything here. Anyway, so again, good time to clean it. Make sure, of course, your recoil is working good, no broken springs or anything. Check all your fins are broken. If you have a broken fin, you can either buy a new flywheel or you can break the one on the opposite side. Yeah, that's kind of a redneck fix, and that's what I've been doing anyway, but I know it's not the proper fix, but hey, that's what I do, and it keeps them going. Now, I am going to be washing this, so I am removing every one of these clips here. They just pop right off. There should be 3 of them on the entire saw, I'm guessing. 3 that I've seen, and there's one over here on the top. So you can see how they got the turbocharger style set up here. It's just all loose. So I'm going to pop that off, make it a little bit easier for cleaning. The wires just pop out of the top here. Unhook my kill switch. I'll do that off camera because I can't get it on this angle. I don't know if there's any, I guess there's no screws holding that. So if it's cracked or anything, you might want to replace it, even though you don't really need it for the saw to run. It would be better for cooling and everything. So this, I don't know if that pops out of there. It looks like it does, but to do that requires a lot of cleaning to see where the screws are. Anyway, so I'm going to give this a soak for a bit. You can see actually how much gas it leaked out on the ground right there. Not on the ground, but on the paper towel. So it is leaking pretty good. Again, it's leaking from the cap here too. You can see that because, you know, it can't press down on the O-ring at the top. So a new cap's like $10 shipped on eBay. And I actually forgot to ask how much it was local, so yummy. Anyway, I'm going to clean it, then I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so I'm back from the car wash and supper. Nice and clean now. I'll also clean the recoil and stuff, but I won't show that. It's just nice and clean on the inside. Now for the rest of the parts, I got to scrub them by hand. Now, of course, I'm going to run some silicone lube through the engine because no matter what, some water got in. Even though I know I had it, you know, where the port was closed on the cylinder. I did wash out the gas tank. You can see everything came out pretty nice and clean. So, now for pulling out the fuel line, it's actually fairly easy, but the thing is you got two layers. You got the top layer and the bottom layer here. I'll try to show that here. Kind of see it, that it has to go in between. Oop, where am I? That it has to go in between there. It's not going to really show up the best. It's actually dirty in there too. Not sure if you can see there the fuel line going in between right there. Not until it's, you know. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull out the fuel line. Now, yeah, it is dry rotted. There's a few different ways to do this. You could get in there with some long needle nose and physically just pull it out, or you could just pull it through the top. In my case, the fuel line's already shot. I'm going to pull it through the top until it snaps, just like that. And now I'm going to reach in with some small pliers. I'm going to, or push it through. I could just push it through, it'd probably be easier. I'll just push it through with a small screwdriver and then I'll pull it out through the bottom. So give me a second, I'll set up the camera on the tripod and I'll show you. Okay, anyway, I'm just using a small screwdriver here. End of the fuel line right in there. I'm going to give it a push. So, and I'm already through the first layer, and there it goes right through the second layer. Super easy. Anyway, next thing is to pull the fuel filter out of the tank, which I know I could just shake it and get it out of there. You can see now where the fuel line went through. I know the light's not the best right here. So, fairly easy to get it through. The fuel line comes pointed. And there's the fuel filter. And at the end of the fuel filter, you'll see I still got a little piece of fuel line, so which I'll pull off. Now, for cleaning the fuel filter, you know, you could buy a new one, but I always just gave them a blast of something. I don't know if I'd use brake clean on it, but I always just washed them in gas, pretty much threw them back in. As you can see, this one's not even yellow; it's nice and white, so it's mint shape. So I'll pull off that fuel line. I'll have to do that off camera, and then I'll show you how I put it back together. Which might be different than the way other people do it, but it's the way I did it. And again, like I said, I only did one other chainsaw like this, so it might not be the proper way, but this is the way I do it. And of course I just dropped what I was about to show. Where did it go? Right there. Okay, so this is the part number right here for the fuel line, which they send you. Of course, one side already comes pointed for pushing it through, and the other side's flat. Of course, you'd cut that off after you get it through the tank. Now, this is normal chainsaw fuel line. It's kind of hard to show in the video, but this is thicker than normal fuel line. So it's such a little bit. This inside is the same thickness, but the outside is thicker. Okay, so this is the fuel line here. Last time I ended up having to do this, so I just did it again. I trimmed more off the bottom side here to make it pointy. You don't really need the full length anyway. You can cut like 1.5 inches off this and it'll still be long enough. Well, last time it was. I'm hoping it was this. It's going to be this time. So anyway, I'm going to give it a shot of silicone lube, just to help it slide in. I'm going to push it in. Doesn't really matter which way it's facing, but I'm going to do it with it facing the back. and I felt it went through the top side. And you gotta remember, this is meant to be a very tight fit because it's not meant to leak until it hits a certain pressure, and then, you know, save your tank from exploding. Yeah, it'll probably leak beside the seal. But, okay, so that's down as far as I could see. You'll want a flashlight. I'll actually grab this camera here and I'll try to show you what it looks like inside the tank now. Flip the screen around on the camera here. Don't know how well this is showing up there, but you could barely see the tip of it, but that is the tip of the fuel line sticking out of that hole up there. While I'm at it, I'm checking the shape of the rest of the tank. Kind of makes you wonder about those, how it's peeling around the edges there, but I'm guessing that's probably factory. So anyway, I'll get my needle nose pliers in there, and got my other camera here. Just using my cell phone right now. That's the piece of crap camera. Oh, like my modded, you know, stand. Yeah, I need a new tripod. Make it a little bit easier. So anyway, got my big ass long needle nose, but I think I could get away with my short ones. Give it a try here in a few seconds. There we go. Got it. So you don't want to pull too much. You can see I got plenty up here still. The rubber up to the cylinder first, just like that. Give this a shot of spray. And don't, like I said, the spray actually dries up, so it's not going to leave a film over the engine. And of course, make sure my other little rubber's on there. Yep. I don't know if I use a little pick, I'd be able to get this on a little bit easier, but I'm too lazy to find one. There we go. Perfect. And the bottom one's in, so that's all in there perfectly now. I need the 2 screws here for the bottom. But for now, I'm going to get the rubber on here, but I got to clean it first. So I'll have to pause the camera. Okay. So I got my 2 screws to put in on the top here. Just give them a quick cleaning. Is the screwdriver magnetic? I guess not. So it's the Pro Point Torx bit, even though it's an Allen head, but hey, it works. Just going to give this a snug in. Not going to go too tight with it. Maybe 15 inch-pounds if that. Okay, next thing I need now is my carburetor gasket, which is right here. I know I probably should have bought a brand new one, but in this case here, it's not ripped up. Car driving by. Just giving it a quick wipe, because it is kind of dirty. If I rip it, I'll buy another one. Maybe I'll get lucky and rip it, eh? Yeah, it's good shape. So of course you want to make sure not to plug your fuel pump vent. So of course it goes on just like that. So nothing's going to hold it in place, so it's just going to fall for now until I grab my carburetor, which I didn't pull apart. Maybe I'll pause the camera here and I'll pop it apart real quick. Just take a peek inside it, that's all I want to do. Not going to pull off the diaphragm or anything like that, I'll just check the other side. Make sure there's no dirt on the needle. Okay, so as you see I got my fuel line on. I did a little trimming. I only took off about 1 inch. Yeah, I probably could have just shoved it into the tank. Just gonna move this back a tiny bit here. Move my empty bottle there. So now the main thing when you're putting these on, of course, remember how you took it apart. This is the choke lever here. A little bit tricky here. Clips into there. Push the choke on. Locks it into place. If I can do it just temporarily like that, that's good enough. I'm lost. Where did I do it? Where did it go? Oh, it fell off. Okay. Throttle. This is a push style. It's a free floating style. So I'll get that into place. That's into place. Those will fall off very easy, that one, so you got to be very careful. Now I'm going to slowly grab my gasket here. You want to be very careful. Watch out which way this goes on. You'll see an indent from where your fuel pump crankcase pulse hooks up, so it's kind of hard to really miss that. But anyway, I got everything here. Line it up slowly like that. Fuel line, I got a clip into the bottom here. Can actually do that in a bit. So I'll get that back in. My fuel line's kind of popping out from the bottom here where it clips in. I think my throttle's still connected. Yep. Have to double check it there. Now when you're tightening, like putting these screws on here, you got to be very careful here. You're not going into aluminum, you're just going into this backside cover here. So you don't want to go very tight at all, but you also don't want it loose. Make sure that's going to work. Yep. Of course, make sure your choke's going to work, which it does. Make sure your throttle lock works. Of course, it's still loose, so it's going to work a lot better in a few seconds here. Now I'm going to stop right now because I see I got to put my little clip into here. Just one of these guys right here. So should have did that first, but I took it out because I was washing it. So I'm going to actually push that into there. Of course, make sure the threads aim down, and I'm going to have to loosen this back up to get it in there. Note to self, next time put that in sooner. Otherwise you won't be able to screw on your top cover. So just right here, threads aiming down, push it into there. Now this can go back on. Well, of course my gasket fell off. And again, I don't work on many saws like this. I'm normally into the old antique saws, stuff like that. Modern saws that I work on, normally it's nothing major. So I'm not going to be no expert at this, but know my way around them. Last time I worked on small engines on a daily basis like this was about 10 years ago. So these saws back then were still brand new. Again, you make sure you don't cross thread any of these because that's bad. And I don't know what the torque specs are, probably like 10 inch-pounds maybe, hard to say. I just go until it feels tight and then a little tiny bit. Of course, you don't want no air sucking. So that's good. Throttle works, choke works, throttle lock. Yep. So that's good. One more time. Yep, everything's good. Got that. You still got to hook up my kill switch, but I'll turn the camera now and I'll show you that. One more piece, this little black clip here that goes in between your rod here, stop it from bouncing around. Got to put that back into place. It just slides over and then slides right in, just like that. So you can see how it's on there. It's just kind of a bushing, so thought I'd mention that. I took it off when I was washing it, so. Put in my last little screw here, just into here. Of course, you don't want to over tighten it, just snug. Make sure your throttle still works, choke still works, throttle lock, that's all good. Okay, now I'm going to route my kill switch wire here. I'm going to actually turn the camera for you guys, just be a second. Okay, so I plugged in my wire for my kill switch. Going to put my fan cover / turbocharger. So you can see here at the fins here how they spin, how they force air up into here. It's probably not really showing the best on the camera here. But it forces air up there and then into the airbox assembly here. So it doesn't, I don't know if it actually would consider giving it boost, but it's more just for the, I guess, the hell of it would be the easiest way to explain it. So this just sits loosely on here, just like that. Make sure, of course, you can spin and nothing's grabbing. Put my wires back in here, and as you can see, I put a zip tie on this side, a zip tie on this side. I just did that for the hell of it. So this one here I should have slid over just a little bit. No, it's still enough room. So just kind of keep it a little bit nicer, tidier in there, just like that. That's good. So now that that's on, gave a little bit of shot of silicone lube to my recoil. Push that wire back up in there. As you can see, I put my clip here and my other clip up there. Those are the ones for holding the top cover on actually. So make sure everything looks right, everything looks good. Put this into place. Okay, that's good. Grab my screws here. My screwdriver. Yeah, they're pretty clean. These are all the same size. Snugging these guys up. Again, just go snug. Don't need to over tighten them and crack something. Just be a pain in the ass. Okay, there's a fourth one here, so I gotta find out where I left that one. It's kind of a pain to get here. Got a fourth one, I bet you, under that cap there. Oh, this one's gonna be. There we go. Right. Where is that last screw? There it is. Under the gas cap in the bin I had it in. Last screw for the bottom here. So in here it looks like it's an oversized screw for where it's going. I know it's not really sure they're the best, but I still need to get a new gas cap, so I might not even start it today. Kind of hard to say. The compression release, pull off the spark plug. Okay. And my stupid battery died again. Like, what the hell, man? Does Canon really make that shitty of a camera? Like, look at this piece. And look how small that battery is. It's like less than ½ an inch. So I'm going to order tonight some more batteries. I do actually have some on order from somewhere else, which haven't showed up yet. So I'm going to order some more. Close my lens cap. Anyway, the last time you seen that, I was just pulling this over, and as I'm putting back on the spark plug boot, weep, frickin' piece of shit. Anyway, she is back together. All I got to do now is my air filter. Might as well do it just with, you know, my camera like this. So I'm going to have to make some clearance here. I might have to move my fuel line underneath the kill switch to get this on, or the kill switch wire. So I'll do that, and then I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so got that back on. You can see I just ran my fuel line underneath. Now the kill switch here wire might have used to go under, like underneath this, but in my opinion, with a saw, I'd rather have the kill switch somewhere where it's easy to get to. So I'm going to leave it up at the top. I can't see it rubbing or interfering with any of that. So time for the top cover. A little bit dirty, but you can see it started to melt at the front there. So you can see how dirty that was. This is after I already tried cleaning it, but of course the top cover I didn't care quite as much about. So I got all my clips back into place, so I'll put this back on. Of course, trying to do it with one hand here. Holding the camera now is pretty much impossible. Anyway, I'm going to put back on that cover, tighten up the 3 screws, and I guess I'll put in a shot of gas and give it a try. One more thing I thought I'd do before I reassemble. Don't have any gas or anything in it. Check my spark plug. Good thing I did. Like every other saw I buy, they're super loose. Like this one here, I still put the wrench on it, but it was so loose that I could have took it out with my finger, like probably by hand. So this one here is a Bosch plug, R10. So put that back in it. All the threads so far look to be great. So top of the piston. Of course, you can see there's oil in there because I sprayed some oil in there after I washed it. So I just thought I'd pull that. See, it was actually running nice. So anyway, get that back in. Put a little grease on there. So dielectric in the boot, a little never sees in the spark plug hole. And I gave it one little pull before I even put in any gas. It's sitting there on the ground. And the recoil rope won't go back in. So I think the spring broke or it fell off one link. Fun. So I'm not going to videotape this, but it should be just a quick fix. I can see there's a chunk out of it there, but I'm sure of it from who knows when. So I might need a recoil pretty soon. So I got the recoil spring apart. It's all good. Just needs to be cleaned up. It's starting to bind at the very end there. I know it kind of looks like it there, but it's not broken. So I actually popped it out, looked at it. Going to put it back together now that I got it back in. Very, very dirty in there. So I'm just going to give it a cleaning, toss it back in, and hope for the best. Okay, so I got it back together. The spring is worn out. So is where it catches here. There's one good mark on it, which I showed before. But anyway, you pull real hard and it actually skips off. So it's going to need a new spring. So it's not too big of a deal, but it's getting into a little bit more money. Even though right now I'm already into this for what, $7? $10 for a cap. If I have to spend $25 on a spring and a kit, whatever. Not too big of a deal. So I had a bunch of that oil, silicone lube on the ground. You can see it's pretty much all evaporated. I never showed it before, but anyway, I'll throw it back on. It's good until I pull real hard and real quick. And of course, I'm a big guy, so I like to, I could start stuff up with high compression pretty easy compared to others. So it could be that I'm just too hard on it. Hard to say. Well, I gave it 2 good pulls and the rope's back to the way it was. Skipped a notch. So I'll order a new spring. Probably be a while now. Anyway, I'm going to post up this video the way it is. Today is Thursday night. See the oil pump's working. Drop oil on the ground. Anyway, shit happens. Easiest way to explain it. Well, it never fails. When you think it's going to be an easy fix, it never is. The recoil was sticking a bit before when I had it. So, that's kind of why I thought that, needs something wrong or has something wrong with it, and sure enough it does. I pulled it twice. I had some, silicone lube and it started, but anyway, that spring let go. What it is the center of the spring where it has the hook that catches onto the actual recoil assembly itself is warped, bent. So it needs a new spring. I know I've seen Chinese entire recoil assemblies for like $30, but I'm just going to get the parts it needs. Might as well keep it original. Don't need no shiny, brand new looking pull cord on a machine that's from 1999. So anyway, time to put it away for about a week, and I might as well throw this video up the way it is. Sweet.